Welcome back to Maximum News. I'm your host, as always, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin, Max Derrat, and I'm joined, as always, by Sybsidian of the Triple S League. Of all the stories that we've talked about in this past year, Syb, today we have a news story that probably makes me happier than almost any other story that we've talked about this entire year of 2024. So, there was this little convention in a little town called San Diego, which apparently in another language means something quite, well, I won't say it. Let's just say if you've ever watched Anchorman, you know what I'm talking about. A little convention called San Diego Comic-Con, which is not typically the place where you tend to get video game news. It's typically a place where major movie studios tend to make their announcements. You know, it seems to center around stuff like that and TV shows more than actual comics. But it is a pretty cool venue for comics. It's just not the type of stuff that gets the big headlines. Well, there were a couple of exceptions coming out of Comic-Con this year. And the first exception I want to mention, Syb, my heart burst with joy when I read this news, and apparently it was a complete accident. So check this out. There was a showcase of a bunch of different statues of popular media being done by Dark Horse Comics. I think they're just called Dark Horse, but they have different divisions. One's Dark Horse Comics, and I think they're the third largest distributor in America, right next to Marvel and DC. They had a pair of statues of Raziel and Cain from the Legacy of Kain games. And apparently, below this statue of the two of them fighting was a little sign that said something that wasn't supposed to be said. And this was picked up by a user from Reset Era in the forums who took a picture of it. And you know what the sign said, Syb? It said, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered! Woo! Oh, God, this made me so happy when I read this news. I posted on Twitter, it's like, don't you mess with my heart. That better be real. Because my God, Syb, my thing online is all about talking about stories in video games. I'm not saying that there hasn't been a story that has not surpassed the Legacy of Kain in the past 20 years. There probably has been a number of them. But I'll say this. When it comes to dialogue and the way that dialogue is delivered through expert voice acting, there has not been a game series that has done it better since Legacy of Kain. I will die on that hill. And the fact that it seems, based on this information, that we are eventually getting remastered versions of these two legendary games makes me happy. Just a little bit of extra information. Apparently, a day or two after these signs went up, they were taken down because they weren't supposed to be up. So I don't know why they got the promo materials if they weren't supposed to put them up at San Diego Comic-Con, but apparently they took them down. But yeah, it makes sense too, because there, like a month or two ago, Crystal Dynamics announced that they were doing a prequel comic where they explained how the character of Raziel came to be Raziel until, Kain screwed him over and threw him into the Lake of Fire, yada, yada, yada. And it seems like Crystal Dynamics is going to be making a huge push to try and bring the Legacy of Kain IP back into the limelight. And I swear to God, Syb, if I had to buy 10 copies of these remastered editions just so I can give them to all my friends and try to show Crystal Dynamics that we want more Legacy of Kain games, I will do it. I need this series to end. I need Amy Hennig back on board to give us that final installment that we never got. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Oh, and one other thing. This is great news, especially for people who are longtime fans and have been wanting good ports of the original games. Because particularly for Soul Reaver 1 and 2, the ports can vary in quality. So for Soul Reaver 1, the absolute best version of that game that you can play is Dreamcast emulation on your PC. If you tried to play it on Steam, or if you try to play it on your PS1, it sucks ass. And the fact that we're getting remastered versions of it soon makes me so happy. Can you tell how happy I am? Anyway, Syb.
Just a bit.
Yeah. So, I know we've talked about Legacy of Kain in the past. I can't remember what you said your experience has been, if any, with these games. Did you ever play Legacy of Kain? Are you excited about this at all? What are your thoughts?
I like not as much as you have, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it all the same because this is like I'm I'm always kind of like meh when I get like a game, hearing about a game remaster that is clearly just going to be a cash cow. There's not a whole lot of love or anything like that in it. And there's more and more of those going on all the time. But that is considerably, and I would say even like a, 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 a flea compared to the good news that we get when we do get true classics and really good games remastered. Because especially because it's not so much about like the old games, you can't play them anymore. You can, and there's a lot of them that are great. The problem with especially a lot of really old games, in the cases that I love seeing stuff remastered as, is that you have to get an era specific computer or console to play them,
Yeah, big time.
because the without any form of a significant remaster, it's just not playable. um, and that's one kind of aspect. The other aspect is like reminding game studios what good games are like and why classics endure, and more often than that, that boils down to gameplay. And that when you have these newer games that are just recycled garbage that doesn't really have any heart to it and certainly doesn't have good gameplay to it, and they're going, wait, why nobody buying Suicide Squad? I don't understand. Why is nobody buying this? It's like, well, this is why. Because you're an idiot and you don't know how to make games. Because what you made wasn't a game; it was an asset flip, essentially. There's actual asset flips that you get on Steam all the time, and then there's what I would call AAA asset flips,
Yeah.
which is like just make the same game over again and just flip it. And I was thinking about this in contrast to Mega Man series, and
Oh, sure.
how the creator of Mega Man took a step away from Mega Man for a long time because he didn't think that that genre of side scrolling like shoot type things, it was going to be successful. I should clarify, I don't know if it was him or a bunch of people that he was surrounded or his bosses, but or investors or whatever, but he just kind of like walked away from the series for a really long time. And it's not that I want an like it's not that I want to just keep reliving the same Mega Man games over and over and over again. It's
Mm.
that I want them to evolve and to change. And when I think about games like Halo, it's like that could have been like you slap a Mega Man skin on that, it's like that looks like a good idea as a concept.
Mhm.
But from the originals, so there was this time all that time ago when that game came around that it's like, no, you could have evolved the series, you could have evolved the game. I'm sure there's some dimension out there where 20 some odd years ago, instead of it was Halo Combat Evolved, it would have been like Mega Man X
Yeah.
Combat Evolved. and and to me that's really good, because when you get stuff like this, and for all you people like getting your ears up going, they're making more Mega Mans, I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. I'm
Yeah.
just using that as an example from my past. But the the more that we get other good games remade, the more likely a chance that we will get more games like that in the future, and more remakes, and then more series continuations that explore the world more or better, or whatnot.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
want them to keep pushing forward. Like, I want them to experiment and come up with new IPs like that all the time. But there is something to be said about like the classics and keeping those classics
Alive.
updated and alive in a way that we can kind of transpose them. Because I don't know if you've tried to play some of our older favorite games like Dragon Age 1 or Mass Effect 1 or Mass Effect 2.
Oh
um
God, Mass
Good
Effect 1. I've
lord,
tried so many times, dude. I just
those
can't.
yeah, the controls are so bad. The now I know yes they had their remake coming out. Again, I'm just using these
Yeah,
as
yeah.
an example. Yeah, the remake, not remake, the remaster,
Mm.
or whatever you want to call it. It improved the game a lot, but still, what I'd like to see is I'd like to have every IP out there reminded that they can do better. That's all I want them to do. Is just remember that they can do better.
Yeah, yeah. You brought up Halo. That actually reminds me to mention one thing about the one thing about this news that sort of sucks. You know, when gamers, especially hardcore gamers, have discussed the idea of remaking games amongst themselves, the question of what game deserves a remake the most pops
Mhm.
up. And it might just be my circles, but one of the ones that I hear brought up the most is Legacy of Kain. Based on the titling of these upcoming updated versions, it seems like they're just going to do a remaster instead of a full-on remake. But I'm so excited to hear anything from Legacy of Kain that I'm just kind of putting that to the side. And plus, I'm also somewhat understanding because, well, why haven't we gotten a Legacy of Kain game in the last 20 years? Well, it's because it didn't sell all that well when it came out. Defiance apparently didn't sell all that well. That was the last entry in the Legacy of Kain series, Defiance, to allow Amy Hennig to finish off the story. But I don't know. Hopefully, because there's some degree of recognition to the title Legacy of Kain, that if they put it out, if they put in better controls, better camera movement, updated visuals, and really just push on, God, how great, like, Mark it is like one of the greatest stories ever told in gaming, because it really is. And just the dialogue. Oh, hate me, Raziel, but do it honestly. Revenge is honest. You can, I could listen to those people say their lines all day. It's like, I'm deepened hatred for the hypocrisy which damned me. Oh, God, it's so good. I'm so excited. Anyway, no official news has come out yet. I imagine sometime in the next month or two, we'll probably hear something, definitely before the end of the year. Very excited. And yeah, kudos to Crystal Dynamics. And guys, if you want somebody who's going to shill on your behalf for these games and try to do everything they can to get people to play it, I'm your guy. All right, moving on to the next story. Another piece of news came out about the Bioshock movie. Okay, so this is tangential. I was just saying about how movies tend to get more attention at Comic-Con. Well, this is about a movie, but it's about a upcoming adaptation of the Bioshock video game. Roy Lee was at San Diego Comic-Con. He's the producer for the upcoming Netflix adaptation of Bioshock. And he was asked about it. It was announced back in 2022. And we learned that in 2023, Francis Lawrence of Hunger Games fame was going to be directing it. Pretty good director. He's had, I think he was directed Catching Fire. That was a really damn good movie. That Hunger Games movie. Although he did also direct Thor: The Dark World. But that movie wasn't necessarily bad because of the direction, was more bad because of the script. But anyway, interesting choice. And apparently he said that he wants to make the movie as accurate to the game as possible. And by that, I imagine he means Bioshock 1. And he's also been chatting with Ken Levine, who's the creator of Bioshock. And, having the creative head be a consultant on the movie, that's always good news. Here's the problem, though. Well, maybe not a problem, but just something that I think can reasonably spark some concern. So he was asked about it, and he said that it was going to be a smaller version than they were originally anticipating. They had been allocated a reduced budget, and so they were going to make the movie a lot more personal and a lot less expansive than it was originally going to be. Now, when I heard this, I worried at first because, Saib, there's just certain properties that no matter what you do, you're going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on it just because of the scope inherent to that property. So for something like Halo, if you want to do Halo at its most epic, you have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on it. If you want to do Mass Effect, if you want to do a God of War, just with these huge locales and otherworldly, sometimes alien feeling environments, there's just some properties that mandate that. And I wondered if Bioshock was one of them, because you have an entire underwater city. That underwater city has a very 1940s/50s aesthetic to it, a little bit like Fallout, but not as much. And it's dark. There's water leaking everywhere. There's these giant robots called Big Daddies chasing you all over the place. It made me wonder, well, when you say reduced, how reduced is it going to be? And is it going to be reduced to the point where you're going to compromise on what Bioshock visually is? Because the visuals of Bioshock are so intrinsic to the story and getting across the themes and all that, and like the themes regarding objectivism versus altruism and all that, and just how they contributed to the way that Rapture looks and all that. So anyway, but I thought, well, what if they did it in a way where everything was really, really dark, and they used green screen in a way where like they didn't really have to show all the detail of everything, and they could just make a really, really good looking practical suit for whoever's in the Big Daddy armor instead of doing it all CGI. I thought, yeah, maybe they could do that, because you're often in the dark in the Bioshock game, and maybe they can mess around with the lore a little bit as to the way certain things can look, but keep the essence of certain areas in that game as they are. So I don't know. At the end of the day, it's all about the script, right, and how well the story's told. But yeah, I can't help but be a little bit concerned when I hear news like this. Anyway, that I know I rambled a little bit there, but hopefully I got my general point across. Side, does this concern you at all, or should I be concerned, or I don't know? What do you think?
I don't know. Like right now, Hollywood, smart people in Hollywood know that superheroes are over-ish.
Ish.
I think that they can always do a new run of superhero movies and do them well, because superhero movies, like they're so good from a narrative standpoint. They're so good from the point of selling something to people that they enjoy hearing, because the concept of the hero doing what they need to do, going on the hero's journey, these are very good things. These are very positive things. These are things that have been and will always be very, very, very important. But at the end of the day, they're not selling right now because they're I don't
With the
think
exception of
not because the
Deadpool.
stories are good.
You know, I mean,
Oh yeah, no, Deadpool's, it smashed it out of the park. But I think what Hollywood sees right now is that they see this like big push for video game stuff, and I think they're going to jump on that train, and I think they're going to ruin a whole bunch of them. Let's hope this isn't one, but I don't know, because I don't know how they're going to react to it. I really mean this seriously, is like there is a very good chance that they may not handle this well at all, because they are looking to get one thing out of it that it's not. And this is where you again you just kind of cross your fingers and you go, I really hope they aren't going to screw this up.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to kill this, and that's what's going to kill a bunch of other projects down the road, because they're going to go, well, everything video games is just going to work. I mean, what's his name, Martin Scorsese or whoever, like, let's get some random people in who know nothing about video games, right? And sometimes you get lucky with that. What's the guy? Oh, he's a French actor. He did Jurassic Park. The life will find a way. That guy.
French? You're talking about Jeff Goldblum, but is he French?
I'm pretty sure he's French.
I think he's
Well,
Jewish,
at
man.
least I think well, I mean, they're from all over the world, so it's like
I know. But,
at any rate, um, I remember him speaking French recently, so that could just be because he's very much like, oh, look at me, I'm so cultured.
Sure.
So he did that bit in the comic book movies, and it was actually really good. Like he had a great part, and it was really funny. I thought it was really good, but he knows nothing about comics.
Sure,
like
sure.
literally nothing. He knows absolutely nothing about it. He put his own spin on the character, imagining it in a perspective that he was comfortable and familiar with imagining it as. And he had a good director. You do get lucky like that with people who know nothing, absolutely nothing about the thing that they're doing,
because they just
right?
know how to tell a good story.
Exactly. So we will get lucky with that sometimes, and that really will boil down to the director and the writers and being able to like take a moment to research something that they don't understand, and that's good. But the amount of times that they've screwed that up, like Batman Forever, bringing that up again.
I mean, it gave us Kiss from a Rose, so I call that a win. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that can be done right by people who are talented at their job and who find ways of understanding it. And I do think there are a lot of video game people in Hollywood who play a lot of video games. I met more than one very, very famous person in World of Warcraft when it was originally out. Like we're talking like original release, 2008, forever ago. Oh no, sorry, it's like earlier than that. It was
2004 was when it originally came out, right?
Yeah. So like you go all the way back then. I met several famous people, very famous people. I wasn't really like, oh, you're so cool, let's be permanent friends. It's just like, figured out who they were. One guy's his voice just gave it away. like just gave it away. And we taught him how to kind of disguise his voice, because he didn't think that the kids playing the game, because he thought it was a kid's game, he didn't think that they would pick up on his voice, but we picked up on his voice because I watched him for years on a TV show. So there, and we know that, again, one of the best examples of this is, of course, Superman / The Witcher, now future Warhammer God, God Emperor. I don't think he's playing God Emperor, but
he should. But yeah, go ahead.
He should. But there are people in Hollywood who genuinely play games. What are you? And really, you got to look at it like this: what are you going to do when you have 12 hours in a day? You're in a tiny little box, like your trailer, and you have no idea what to do. Like, there's nothing for you to do. You're waiting to get called on set at the drop of a hat. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's like video games were a natural pickup for a lot of people. And I met a lot of people through this way. I met more contacts playing WoW than doing anything else in the gaming industry ever.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the nerdy tech people were hanging out at that time.
Yeah.
Lot of them grew up and
it had the best, and probably still has one of the best social communities in terms of health. Just how wonderful it is to be around other people in that game. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's something that I look at and I go, okay, it really depends. And I have no idea, because I haven't had my ear to the grindstone about this, partially because I wrote it off as something that they're going to ruin.
Yeah, but
That's not something I know for sure. That's not even like something I've had a rumor of. I just have a gut feeling that the type of story that they're telling will naturally attract people who don't know how to do their job and people who want to put their mark on something and rub their thing all over it.
I don't know,
And,
man. I feel you. I do feel some degree of that, but I also feel some degree of optimism because 2K, what do we always talk about on this podcast is how important IP is in the modern era for gaming. Bioshock, it's not like Legacy of Kain. Bioshock is still widely recognized as an IP, even though there hasn't been a game released in that franchise for the past 11 years. I like to think that the reason why they're taking so long with Bioshock 4, even though we know it's in development, and why we haven't really heard anything about this project is because they are really trying to get it right. So, but, just given the nature of Hollywood and the way some of these things go, I think there's also a possibility that the reason why it's taking so long is because they don't know what they're doing with the game or the movie. So, but they do get talent attached to it. Like I do say, I like Francis Lawrence. He's not the world's greatest director, but he's pretty solid. And they got Ken Levine involved, so we just have to hope for the best with that. At the end of the day, I just hopefully they just don't mess up Bioshock 4. I'll take a bad Bioshock movie, but I can't handle a bad Bioshock 4. Anyway, we'll keep our ears to the grindstone for that one, and hopefully they'll announce they'll sort of do what they did with Silent Hill, where they're releasing the Silent Hill 2 remake and the movie relatively close together. Hopefully they'll do something with Bioshock. That'd be really cool. All right. Moving on to the next story. Got a little bit of bad news. It just seems like for the past year and a half, Sybe, every other week, we're just talking about layoffs in the gaming industry. It's very, very sad. Sometimes it's for legitimate reasons, just like the nature of the economy is just constantly all over the place right now, and they don't know how to deal with it. But then there are other times where it really doesn't seem justified, some of the layoffs that they're doing. And I think it might be safe to say that this is one of those circumstances. So, there's a little company called Bungie running a little game called Destiny. And when I say little, I'm obviously being facetious. It's one of the most popular gaming IPs out there, at least in regards to the live service genre. I think it's fair to say that their Destiny is certainly in the top 3 or 5 most popular live service games going. And there's something to be said about the fact that, I think they just released their most recent expansion like a month or two ago. What the hell was it called? It's escaping me, but I just
don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't like. I used to play Destiny 2, but I couldn't keep up with it because it started off really sucking ass, and and then I didn't care. I didn't want to stick around because there were other games that I wanted to play, but apparently it got really good. But now there's just so much stuff out there that I have no desire to go back to it until maybe there's a Destiny 3, which doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But anyway, but Bungie, despite the fact that it is one of the most successful live service games and the fact that the most recent expansion was very well received and got them a lot of money, they still, this past week, announced that 220 people at their company would be laid off, which is approximately 17% of their current workforce. And this is following 2 very important contextual events. One is that when Sony bought out Bungie back in 2022, they promised that there wouldn't be any layoffs as a consequence of this buyout. But then in 2023, specifically October of 2023, they announced 100 people would be laid off. And now it's August of 2024. What's that? 10 months later? And now 220 more people are being laid off. Got a little bit more of extra information from a journalist named Stephen Totillo. He said 2 ex-employees said that the studio repeatedly missed financial targets despite promising Sony that they wouldn't, and they had been losing money since not the last DLC, but the one before that, one called Lightfall, which came out in fall of 2023, or no, February of 2023, my bad. And that was one that even the CEO, Pete Parsons, announced was below their standards for quality. God, I'm starting to sound like Jeff Goldblum. All right. Yeah. Sony gave Bungie massive autonomy when they bought out Bungie because they just saw them as the golden goose and just wanted to let them cook. But because they've been losing money ever since February 2023, they had to make these cuts to placate Sony and to maintain that autonomy, I imagine. And yeah, apparently things have been bad enough that the most recent DLC, even if it had blockbuster performance, these cuts still would have happened. So yeah, 220 people got laid off. But the worst part, Syb, and this is the one thing that sort of everybody around the internet is picking up on. You know, when Nintendo, about a decade ago, was experiencing some financial struggles, you know, all the crap that we give Nintendo, and rightly so, when their former CEO was still alive, Satoru Iwata, instead of letting many of his employees being laid off, he took a 50% pay cut just to keep the company and the family together, which was admirable, I would say. Well, same thing can't be said for Pete Parsons. Apparently, just before this news came out, it was revealed that the man had spent $2.3 million on a variety of classic cars. And he's got a lot of them. And he apparently liked to brag around the office about all these amazing cars that he got, while being completely tone deaf about what this projects to not just his employee base, but anybody who might be interested in the workings of the company on the outside. And it's happened enough, and apparently it's bad enough that people, particularly former community managers for Bungie, have been speaking out on Twitter right now, who have been saying that all the problems that have been happening at Bungie are attributable to Pete Parsons. And this is strange because Pete Parsons has been a part of Bungie since before Halo 2 came out. And so what that means is he's been a part of not just a variety of their losses and their problems at Bungie, but also their greatest successes. And from what I understand, he's always been not the CEO, but in a pretty substantial leading role there ever since 2002. So I don't know what the hell's going on that he keeps messing up this bad, but apparently it's gotten so bad, and things have just gotten so off the rails in regards to managing stuff. And apparently there's been a lot of behind the scenes drama with Marathon, which is their next live service game that's coming out. My God, just give us a proper game, for Christ's sake. You guys made Halo. Go back to making games like Halo. Not everything has to be a live service anyway. But yeah,
it's painful. It is legitimately painful thinking about how Bungie has screwed things up over the years. I know a lot of people like Destiny, but Destiny has had, I would say, more downs than it had ups.
For people like you and I, yes. Bad. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Like it's bad when like just so much. I could talk for like a day straight on just the mistakes that they've made with just that side of the company. Not the fact that this is the third time they were bought out. Like, can they like,
it was Apple, and then it was Microsoft, and then it was Sony, right? Those three?
No. Activision too.
Oh God, how could I forget? Oh yeah, I remember when that happened, and everybody's like, "Yeah, Bungie, yeah, screw Activision." Well, look where you it's like that quote from The Dark Knight. Yeah, you die a hero or live long enough to become. Yeah, so yeah.
And it has been back and forth with them for so long, and frankly, it's painful. It is absolutely painful. And again, like on all aspects, there's ways that they treated core employees. There's ways that they treated a whole bunch of other people. There's a whole bunch of things that you sit back and you go, what in the world was somebody smoking? And how stupid could you be? Well, at least they won't make that mistake again. And the fourth time they make that same mistake in a row, you're starting to think, okay, right. Maybe these guys don't know what they're doing. Maybe, you always wonder. I always wonder, how do bands make one-hit wonders? That really perturbs me from time to time. How do people make one-hit wonders? I don't understand how that happens. But if you if you don't know how to do your job, I think that's how you can definitely do that. And I've seen that in the corporate world a lot, where people will have success making a company, and then they get a bunch of fancy articles written about them, and then they go to one company and they crash it to the ground. Then they go to another company and they crash it to the ground. And then they go to another company and they crash it into the ground. And then they go to another company and they crash that into the ground. And it's at some point you got to say, all right, I think he fluked on the first one. And it happens. It's hard because in big business, it really is like you have to be exponentially bad at doing your job to hurt a big giant company, because so much of that company just runs off of how it was built.
Yeah.
And if it was competently built to get to point A, then eventually it should just theoretically stay there. But that's not how that works, and there's a lot of human error that results in absolute stupidity, making things a lot worse. So yeah.
But what do you mean, like what were you trying to I don't understand why you brought up the one-hit wonder thing in regards to all that.
That maybe that's what Halo was to them.
Yeah, well, no,
Like,
it's
because
not.
again, I'll stand by this, and I solidly believe it. Destiny was not a success because it's had more failures than it's had success. So what that was is that was, and I mean, you think about them as they were, as a company long time ago. It's like just it's not the same thing anymore. It's been Swiss cheese
That's true.
for so long
Yeah.
that it's like trying to build a boat out of Swiss cheese. It's like it's never going to hold.
All
It's
the
never going to hold
people
its
that
own
I
anymore.
associate with the greatness of Halo are no longer there. Where the hell's
Yeah,
Joseph Staten? Where the hell's Marty O'Donnell? You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sad. It really is. I am very confused by it. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
sucks.
but that's thankfully you and I haven't put a lot of hours. Well, I mean, I did for the first Destiny, but I think I only put like 20, 30 hours into Destiny 2, and that was like almost a decade ago. So thankfully it doesn't affect us, and F life services. Anyway, what else do we got, Side?
So we do have more good news on the new gaming to uh, video entertainment.
Oh yeah.
We've got Like a Dragon
Oh
now
yeah.
coming in as a streaming show. So this is, and I like this better. I like the long form. I like having
Yeah.
lots of stuff. I think an hour and 60 minutes. Oh, sorry, an hour and 60 minutes. 2
That's
hours.
2 hours.
I think 2 hours for a movie. Usually an hour and 45 minutes. Right. Um, it's not enough for a lot of franchises. It is simply not enough.
Yeah.
And Like a Dragon Yakuza, it's got so much potential to be super big and to be like really, really, really impressive. They could literally make this amazing, like be one of the best shows on TV. It's got all the players, it's got all the things set up. You can do very much please rip off of John Wick and just not exactly, but have some really cool gunplay scenes. Like there are some, and gun fu. Do you know what gun fu is?
Well, yeah, it's like the stuff that they do in John Wick.
Yeah. So gun fu is a really cool way of filming fight scenes. It is a little unrealistic, sort of. Uh, I have seen some stuff in my life, and I would say that never discount what you can do in close range with the right kind of weapon, because you just need skill, and that's not something that comes. It's not something that you see in a lot of television. You know, I saw an ad the other day for a Western game, and there were like 8 people lined up on a street, standing probably like 20 meters away from another 20 people standing on a street, and they were all shooting at each other, and they did that for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, right, somebody doesn't know how guns work.
Right.
Somebody doesn't know how guns work. This is not how guns work. This is not, what are you doing? Why? Why is this a thing? So yeah, so I think there's some really great potential for some really cool fight scenes, and I really think that they can probably just like absolutely hammer this. This is one of the most exciting potential series. I want to list that. It's like, out of all the series that you say, hey, you could make an absolutely amazing long running series out of this.
Yeah.
Yakuza Like a Dragon is definitely one of those. It definitely has so much potential, and I really hope that they do amazingly well. I'm so stoked for this. I'm looking forward to it. Cautiously optimistic, as always, because again, Hollywood streaming services, they don't always nail this stuff down right. So yeah.
You know, low key, I'm always talking about, whether it's here on the podcast or just with my patrons and my fans, about like why I'm not able to play certain games, because with the stuff that I do on my personal channel, the types of games that I tend to cover tend to revolve around certain themes, like more it sounds pompous when I say it like this, but I'm not trying to be. It's just like more intellectual, philosophical, metaphysical themes that I can go really in depth with. And because I have to play those games all the time, it takes up a lot of my free time. And then the free time that I do have, I'm sort of dedicating to other games, which sort of pushes out games that I've heard a lot of positive things about, like the Yakuza series. So sometimes I do wish that there would be more adaptations, because if I'm not able to experience them as games, it would be a whole lot easier to experience them as other forms of media. And knowing that it's getting a TV adaptation, it's like, well, I could sit down and watch this with my wife while we're eating dinner. So now that we're waiting on new TV shows, we're always watching stuff, but I mean, in terms of video game adaptations, with this coming out, yeah, I think I might check it out. If I hear it's good, I'll definitely watch it on Amazon Prime. Hopefully one day I'll be able to play the games, but yeah. But dude, I want to, because this is one of those series where it's like, anybody who I know that has played it talks about it like it's the second coming of Christ. People love the Yakuza games, but yeah, just don't have enough time to get into them. And then what's the last thing that we got?
So this is the corporate game media taking what has been a lot of negativity, and now trying to hype up and sell a product to you. Because that is what game journalists have become, which is what I always feared they would become, were just fancy salesmen who worked in a different building from the products that were being made and being sold to you. And that it didn't matter if a product was good. And I can point this to a recent recall of a certain type of replacement for milk, shall we say.
Okay.
Went to the grocery store about a month and a half ago, and people were trying to sell this stuff, and they had a tasting aisle, and I just said, no thank you, I've had it before. I don't like it. It's not something for me. Just move on. Oh no, you really should. This is healthy for you. I'm like, yeah, but I just don't like it, and I don't think it's necessarily healthy. I have a lot of qualms about it, but no, I think I'll pass. No, your fault. Enter insult. And I just kind of like shook my head and walked on. Well, considering that product was just recalled for killing a bunch of people, probably good that I did that. That is what I feel like whenever I read articles about games where everybody is going, this doesn't look good. We've read it, we've watched it. It looks like this isn't going to be good. Or this is just kind of like a flip on the old, try something new, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah. Star Wars Outlaws. Lots of negativity about it so far.
Oh, we
Lots
talk about
of
this again.
very
Jeez.
very troubling footage coming out from games going, hey, this looks like, you know, coat of paint kind of thing where it was not really done that well. We've got some really bizarre, again, I just really bizarre stories about, and I saw the picture today of the main of the main character that they digitally scanned, and I'm doing
Mm.
the air quotes like really heavily right now. They scanned the actress. No, they didn't. They look completely different. Like completely different. I don't know what they're smoking, but they had this very gorgeous, nice looking person, and then she's been changed, and not in a good way. And that is, I've talked about my issues with this before. I think it's one of the most sexist things to do. One of the most disgusting things to do is to take a person and say, you know what, I don't like the way you look. I'm going to change the way that you look. That there's self improvement, and then there are things where it's like, no, we want to have, your jaw is a little too pronounced. I think we're just going to cut that down a little bit. It's like that kind of stuff. It just grinds my gears. Like this, it's so gross.
I wonder though, like you're right. Like there's something about the way, like the comparisons between her character
Mhm.
model and Matt Damon in Team America: World Police are apt, but I don't. I wonder to what degree it's them messing with the way the character looks, and if it has
Right.
more to do with the way certain characters look in that engine. You know.
Right. And I will point out that this has happened like I have seen bad scans, like scans it just something it just doesn't work. But I find that incredibly hard to believe and incredibly absolutely without a doubt. I will say it 100%. Um it's like that's a 1 in 1,000 type scenario. It's out there for sure, 100%. Maybe let's be charitable. Maybe it's 1 in 100. How does it keep happening to the same to the lead characters and all this stuff? How is it that they can scan like 50 people for Baldur's Gate 3, obviously, and all of those faces come out absolutely stunning, really good looking, just fits the part from the goblins. They didn't scan goblins, obviously, but like
Right.
the tech that they were using to scan people's facial features and create the characters were astoundingly good. How 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 is it how is it that this just keeps happening to all these particular companies?
Hmm.
I scratch my head and I can't figure it out. It's so bizarre. It's like, oh, it's almost as if they're doing it on purpose. And
Hmm.
I don't know why they would do it on purpose because again, it just and again, I don't somebody's going to get sued over this eventually because I know how body morphing works. I've been using Skyrim for 1,000 years.
Right. Yeah.
I made a lot of mods in Fallout 4. And yes, you can make characters look really ugly, but there is 1,000 people out there who will have a mod for improved facial features and facial characters on any game that comes out. And it's almost with the help of AI, you have to be so bad at your job that you outrank all of the good things that are going for you. It's like it's just shocking to me. I just don't understand how this continues to happen over and over and over and over again. And I would say annoyed, disgusted, and a little bit. But hang on, and here's the story. Sorry for dragging this out. Don't worry, guys. This game is going to be amazing. And it really made me a super fan of Star Wars again. Really, I have heard that for every product after the first movie. First movie was kind of like the ones after Disney's merger or buyout.
Mm-hmm.
The first one came out and it was like, it was okay. It was a nice. It was like it was starting to feel a good setup. There was obviously a whole bunch of issues. There were some really weird canonical stuff. There was some, but I was willing to give it a try. I was honestly willing to give it a try. Immediately after that, started hearing this, oh, don't worry, I saw the advanced screening and you're going to be absolutely amazed. This is the best product ever created. Oh, wow, because I just saw it and it was garbage. It was hot garbage. No. You don't understand. You don't know the lore like I do. You were never a fan of this. I literally grew up with this. You were not a fan. You do not understand the advanced lore, which you deleted, by the way. Oh, no. You don't understand. You're not a real fan. In fact, you know what? You're 50,000 different kinds of isms. And it's just like, right, I've heard this before so many times. And the reason why I talk about this is whenever you have somebody in an established control way telling you, oh, don't worry, just fall into line and do what you're told, is when you're about to get just a really bad product. Mm-hmm. Like, just, it's going to be bad, period. It doesn't matter if you're eating food in a lineup, you get somebody who tells you to shut up and do what we tell you to, enjoy what we tell you to, and don't complain. That's when you really got to start going, oh, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't eat this at all. So yeah, that's my little mini rant on this. Again, my solution to this, I've said it over the past couple of episodes that we've done. Give us a damn character creator. Yes. It's not that hard. Call the local talent agency, line up 20 people to come down, get facial scanned, pick the best ones, and make a character creator. It's not that hard. I don't care if the actors have an ego and they want their face in the thing. You're going to butcher it anyways in most cases. Because again, we look at the Jedi Survivor series. That seems to work just fine. Same engine too, I believe. I'm like 99% positive on that. So where does this keep, why does this keep happening? This it's not like the facial scan technology, like the engines that they use for it. It's not like there's like 10 different versions of it. It's all based off the same tech. Right. So I don't get it. I don't like it. I think that I think this game is gonna be a faceplant. I wish it wasn't. Yeah. The easiest solution would be to open up the worlds a lot more, create some actual challenge to the game, because it's kind of important to do that. I remember, and I'll complain about it. The Jedi the Jedi Survivor game that came out, there was somebody made a video where they put the game on easy mode, really easy mode, and they were hanging on a cross line, on a wire line, and they moved the character into the middle of it, and then these stormtroopers were firing at them, and they let it play for 5 minutes. They didn't hit them once. Yeah, I don't know now. I don't know if that was some kind of internal joke where these two particular, I think it might have been in a tutorial mission, they're just not programmed to hit you, but I don't like stuff like that. I really don't. I didn't like it when it was in Mass Effect, where there's a certain fight in Mass Effect where it's all illusion. You're on it. You think you're doing something helpful, and the characters are yelling at you, telling you to do stuff. But turns out, if you just put the controller down and walk away, you get the same heart pounding, you just barely managed to survive. Oh my goodness, you're so amazing. Oh man, you're so awesome. And it's right, okay, illusion. Gotcha. Right. I don't like that. And I feel again, it's like that. It's like the people telling you, "Oh, eat this, it's good for you." It's the, "Hey, enjoy this or else." That kind of stuff when we hear that over and 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 over again, it's just not good. It's just not something that is resonating with the fans. I hope it bombs. I hope it bombs so hard that everybody who's attached to it loses their job, because it's about time people started to reap what they sow, in the sense of like stop making products that are clearly bad, that you're clearly doing for the sake of like trying to sell this other company's BS that they're shoveling at you. Because again, I'm obviously like really like sensitive about this, but the whole like, hey, yeah, we promise we're not going to have microtransactions, and then 3 months after launch, oh, look, they added a microtransaction store. I hate that. That should not be allowed. I honestly believe it. That should never be allowed. If the game doesn't have microtransactions at the time that it was released and you purchased it, it should never have microtransactions. Period.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's Ubisoft for you. And yeah, dude, I
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
they've done it more than once.
It's so sad because who the hell doesn't want a proper open world Star Wars game in the modern era with all the graphical
Yeah. Right.
all the graphical enhancements that we have? But again, it's just coming from Ubisoft, why should we expect excellence? And you know, it's like you're saying they keep giving us crap. It's not that they're necessarily giving us crap, it's just uninspired. I mean, there's going to be people
Yeah.
that have no problem playing open world games over and over again. But as far as going beyond those types of people and trying to rope in people that generally want novelty in the games that they're playing, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to appeal to people like us. And so they're just going to keep doing that, and then hopefully the core audience base will start to pick up on that and try to look elsewhere, and then they'll learn from their mistakes. But I don't know. I wish I didn't have this modicum of hope that the game would be good, just because I want it to be good so much. But yeah, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Anyway, that'll do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to end it on a dour note. There will be more positive news coming out in the next few weeks. We got Black Myth Wukong coming out on the 20th, which I'm very much excited for. I'm going to play the crap out of that. And then there's a whole bunch of games. There's Metaphor ReFantasio coming out in October. I'm hella excited for that, amongst a bunch of other stuff. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of great positive news coming out soon. So just try to keep your head up high. We will do this again next week. But before you go, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. All that sort of stuff helps. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing the show with me. Syb, anything you want to plug before we're done?
No, not right now. We're working on stuff. Again, we've had the dominoes keep falling, and it's very annoying.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Well, I'll just plug my YouTube channel as always. You'll find a link to that in the description box below. I'll have a new video coming out today because we're releasing this on Saturday. It's a video called The Metal Gear Games That Should Be Remade First. If you want to find out which games those in particular that I'm talking about and my argument for it, you should go check it out. I'm actually quite proud of this video. I put a lot of hard work into it. Not that I don't put hard work into all my videos, but this one especially is what I meant. So yeah, I hope to see you over there. Until next week when we do this again, I want to remind you as always and as per usual, stay yellow.